Well, the thing I would say about reform is that they have everything going for them. They have ample public demand, and there's enormous political space for a party that is tough on mass migration, that wants to reduce the cost of living by slashing net zero and by removing tax. If Nigel Farage remains focused on his core issues, there is unquestionably a big political market for him, bigger than anything he's had previously. That is why at the general election last year, he largely came from nowhere to win 5 seats, 4 million votes, not a large number of seats in the first past the post system, but a decent showing for a new party. Then at the local council elections in the spring of 2025, Reform became the first political party in contemporary history to finish ahead of both of the two big parties, Labour and the Tories. They won a national equivalent share of the vote of 30%. People said, they used to say Nigel Farage could not get above 15%. He got 30% of the equivalent share of the national vote at those elections. And all of the fundamental issues that are driving reform, stagnant economy, migration that's out of control, broken borders, those things aren't going anywhere. They're going to stay with us. So the demand side is there, but you've hit the nail on the head, John, by pointing more to the supply side and saying, okay, does reform have the organization? Does it have the team? Does it have the policies? Does it have the professionalism? And I think that's an open question. I think one of the Reform Party insiders described it to me as being like flying at 1,000 miles an hour in a plane while you're putting the plane together. That's essentially the inside view. They've had to build 500, 600 branches from scratch. They've had to put funding in place. They as yet don't really have a comprehensive policy offer. They've got sort of principles that they are putting forward, but there's no fully costed manifesto. And indeed, I suspect there won't be for a few years because, you also don't want to give your critics too much ammunition. But Nigel Farage essentially needs to do what Donald Trump did. He needs to put a team around him of people with government experience who are competent when it comes to policy and the implementation of policy. And he needs to have his plan for government basically finalized and in place before the next election. Because on current polling, John, he will be the next prime minister. Now, you could say that's midterm polling and things are going to change, and I would agree with you. But currently, in the national polls, Reform are heading for a parliamentary majority. So they need their Heritage Foundation. They need their America First Policy Institute. They need their first 100 days of government mapped out. They need their Great Repeal Bill, which will overturn Tony Blair's legislative legacy. They need their plan for exiting the European Convention on Human Rights, the ECHR, which is stopping us from deporting foreign criminals and illegal migrants. They need their plan for revitalizing areas outside of London and taking down the net zero agenda. They need really the detail. And that's really where we are, because, when voters are looking at a protest party, an outsider party, and it's polling 15%, that's one thing. But when you're polling 30% in the national polls, voters will start to look at you as a potential party of government. And you need to then give those voters what they want to see: credibility, coherency, professionalism. And this is something that is Nigel Farage's, big priority. This is what he has to put together over the next 12 months to 18 months if he's going to have a chance at really pulling off something really, unprecedented in our country, John. He's already the only politician to win 2 nationwide elections with 2 different political parties. He won the 2014 European elections with UKIP, the UK Independence Party. He then won the 2019 European elections with the Brexit Party. He just won the local elections with the Reform Party. So there's no doubt that Farage can win national elections. But can he do what Trump didn't do in his first term and what Boris Johnson failed to do when he was given that 80-seat majority? Can Nigel Farage use electoral power to fundamentally transform the country? That is the question that everybody is now discussing.